Hello, students! I hope you have had a wonderful week. This video is for my 4th grade students and for my 3rd grade students. Over the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about all types of different character work. We've talked about some open scenes for 3rd grade. We've talked about monologues for both 3rd grade and 4th grade. So my question to you, what was a monologue again? You should be really good at answering this now. A monologue is going to be one speech given by one actor on stage. Remember that most of the time you're speaking to another actor. So then what was the difference between that, mono meaning one, monologue, and a dialogue? Well, a dialogue is going to be two or more characters on the stage talking to each other. Right now, if you were in the room right now and you said, "Hello, Miss Kirkham," and I said, "Hello," that would be dialogue. It's going back and forth. This is not the only type of conversation piece we have on stage. We actually also have something called a soliloquy. Can you say that with me? 1, 2, 3. Soliloquy. A soliloquy is also a long speech given by one actor on stage, but you're not talking to another person. You are voicing your opinions out loud. So maybe you have an opinion on being at home, and you might be thinking, "Oh, I just want to get out of the house already." If you don't want anyone else to know that, that's just your thoughts inside of your head being expressed out loud, that would be a soliloquy. So it's a longer speech and it's still one character. Others cannot hear you while you're saying this on stage, okay? Then there is another type that is very, very similar to a soliloquy, but it's called an aside. And an aside is kind of a little moment in the play where an actor or an actress can tell the audience how they really feel about a topic. Okay, so if you were to say, "I love drama most of the time," you wouldn't want Miss Kirkham to hear the "most of the time." That would just be telling the audience what you're thinking inside of your head. That's not a long speech. It ends quickly, but you're telling the audience what's going inside of your head, what's going on inside of your head, instead of speaking directly to another person. When you do that kind of aside, you're telling it aside to the audience. We call that an aside. So once again, our two new types were the soliloquy and the aside. Now, Miss Kirkham's going to read from Hamlet because there's a little bit of an aside there. The king says, "But now, my cousin Hamlet and my son." And Hamlet says, "A little more than kin and a little less than kind." Whoa, did he just say that the king was less than kind? That might not be something he actually wants him to hear. He's speaking what he's thinking inside of his head out loud for only the audience to get to hear it. Now, that can be a little confusing. So let's go through. If it is a long speech, is it going to be an aside? No. Is it going to be dialogue? No. It's probably going to be either a monologue or a soliloquy. Okay, so does this long speech talk to another person? If the answer is yes, it's talking to someone else, then it's a monologue. If the answer is no, nobody else is around, you're just stating your opinions, your ideas inside of your head so that the audience can hear what you have to say, then it's a soliloquy. It's a little tricky, I know. Now, what if that soliloquy is shorter? Then it's an think about it, you're jumping to the side, it's an aside. Wow, Miss Kirkham, I didn't know that there were so many different types of speaking on stage. Absolutely. What were those 4 types again? Well, we had dialogue, monologue, soliloquy, and an aside. This week, I'm going to have you, well, you've already written dialogue. You've already done a monologue. We've just now started talking about a soliloquy, but it's very similar to a monologue. So I'm going to have you do an aside. Here is your assignment. I want you to write 3 or more lines between 2 characters on stage. 3 or more lines between 2 characters on stage. Character number 1 needs to talk first. Maybe they say something like, "Oh, I'm so glad to see you." Character 2 has then 2 lines to say. 1 line that is not true, and then an aside to the audience. Ms. Kirkham, how would that look? Well, it might look like this. Ready? "Oh, I'm so glad to see you." "I'm so glad to see you too." "No, I'm not. Ugh, I can't believe I have to speak with this person again." That moment where my hand turned to the audience and said, "No, I'm not." That moment is not supposed to be heard by this character. If this character heard it, they might go, no, they never get to hear it. "No, I'm not" is only for the audience. Let's try again. Rearrange, switch our hands. Here we go. We're doing an aside. "Oh my goodness, do you know who ate my cookies?" "I have no idea who that could be." "It was me." It was me. The audience never hears. That's an aside. So you have 3 lines to write. The first line is from your first character. The second 2 lines are from character number 2. They have a response, and then they turn to the audience and they say something to them that only the audience can hear. So what is your assignment this week? To write 3. If you'd like to write more lines, you can write more lines, but you only have to write 3 lines because you're trying to do an aside. So line number 1 from character number 1. Line number 2, respond to character number 1. Line number 3, speak to the audience. We'll try one more time. Line number 1 from character 1. Line number 2 from character 2. Line number 3, character 2 speaks only to the audience. If you want your scene to be a little longer, that's okay. But for right now, we're just practicing understanding an aside. I hope that you all have a wonderful, wonderful week and that you remember all 4 of these types because something tells me we may have a little quiz coming up on those. Goodbye for now.